Bud Light has lost its top spot in the U.S. market, and it's being linked to a boycott that started when the company partnered with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Honey, Mulvaney?
Mulvaney.
Honey, hearing that like pride is costing corporations, did this story impact your spending habits?
Well, here's the first thing I'm gonna say. I get why people are concerned. I drank a Bud Light this morning and look at me now. But no, this doesn't impact my spending habits. Honestly, it makes me, because of what Bud Light has done in this circumstance of not doubling down and supporting Dylan in these moments, what it's actually done is made me not want to purchase from that company. They decided to go with their bottom line instead of supporting the LGBTQA+ community during Pride Month, and just joined every other corporation and rainbow washing every single thing that they have during the month of June. I mean, look at the Toronto Blue Jays. They put a logo up supporting Pride for how many days on Facebook? 1 day. They took it down after June 1st. So this is just what companies do. I think a lot of queer people are just used to this at this point, but it's really disheartening to see them just quickly revert. Instead of taking this, the clear step to me would have been, instead of going back to that bottom line, to double down and to support Dylan in those moments.
So it's a double loss.
Yeah, it really is.
It's interesting for me to hear that, A, the people who were first boycotting were people who were clearly transphobic.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting to hear from you that also in the queer community there's a boycott. So they're losing double, two ways.
Well, yeah, because they did what everyone expected them to do. They sided with the people who are punching down on people who are marginalized.
Like Kid Rock. Like, did we hear that Kid Rock was one of those people who he made a video of him, like, blowing up or shooting Bud Light? So that was his way of saying, like, I'm against this, I don't like transgender people. But hot fact, actually, apparently in his bar in Nashville, you can still order Bud Light. Oh. Just putting that out there. But I agree, I actually spoke to Ren Navarro, wwho's one of our beer experts on the show, part of the LGBTQ+ community, and she said the same thing. She was just like, you had an opportunity. They made a bold choice to partner with a transgender activist, Dylan. And when the backlash came, what they did was they just were like, we're backing off. And Dylan was the one who apparently had to take a break from social media, had death threats, had all kinds of things, was severely impacted. And what allyship is then showing up. What the company should have done was double, triple down on this, as opposed to pulling back. So they've lost, so rightly so, that they've lost in both directions. But this is a reminder of that kind of corporate
It happens
washing.
The entire month of June. Everything that you buy will have a rainbow on it this month. Does that company do anything to support the queer community? Most likely no. Most likely no.
So I want to get to this on Facebook. It was Rebecca who wrote to us and said, if I know a company is run by racists, bigots, homophobes, or otherwise offensive people, I won't buy or use their products. I'm not supporting that directly or indirectly. And if a company goes out of their way to be anti-racist, anti-homophobic, etc., I am likely to go out of my way to support them. Money talks. I think we've been learning that. It's funny because there's a duality to this, because certainly it seems like in 2023 more than ever, people do care about the beliefs and ethics of a company. But the question is it sustainable, right? Do they just do the right thing when the cameras are on and then they just go back to status quo afterwards? Because I think there's a younger generation, maybe a little younger than us, and they are speaking, but we're young. We're young. But I think there is a generation that is speaking with their money. And I think that that's hopefully how I'm going to raise my daughter, is don't just go blindly with the crowd. Who is stepping out in bravery? Because I think if we were to fast forward maybe 10 or 15 years from now, you know, the fight for trans rights is perhaps where the fight for gay rights was maybe 20 or 25 years ago. Bud Light had an opportunity to be a trailblazer, and now I'm just looking at them as cowards.
But were they losing all along? You know? Like, here's the thing, everything that all of you have said, I totally agree with, but I also don't want to give the homophobic, transphobic community that much power in confirming that this was the reason that Bud Light was losing its place in the beer market.
Why do you think it was then?
Because, you know, Bud Light was not the most successful beer in the world in 2022. Corona was. In 2021, Corona was also the most highly valued beer in the world, even after a word called coronavirus
gonna say,
invaded
2020.
all of our public
2020 lit it up for Corona.
I'm telling you, that brand of beer and its parent company Modelo was able to overcome coronavirus and still be the most highly evaluated beer in 2021
Does Corona
and 2022. So my point is, no, Modelo owns Corona. So the headlines right now is that Bud Light has lost out its #1 position to Modelo. But the thing is, that trend was already happening. So what's happening now is that now everybody is assigning blame to this thing, this transphobia thing, this trans rights campaign, and they're for the homophobic movement and for the transphobic movement. It's a victory for them.
is.
It's like, but see, this is how much power. I hear what you're going to say. Like, I know, I'm not saying 100%.
No, I mean,
this is the reason.
but it's traceable and their stocks fell. It was immediately following the Dylan
but I'm saying that they weren't on the up and up before.
But they were number one.
I think they double lost because then now they're losing.
in a certain segment.
Absolutely.
In terms of like the rise in beer, period, you have to look at the industry as a whole. The Mexican beer market over the last 5 years has been making so many advancements that people, maybe the Marquesa generation, the younger generation, is just going to prefer Mexican beer going forward. Was Bud Light always going to retain its top position?
But I think, I get what you're saying, and absolutely there's validity to that, but this is specific to the U.S. market, and they were #1. And it was very clear when they dropped off, immediately following Dylan. So I think worldwide, maybe that bodes better. Your theory bodes well for the world.
But why assign so much power to these haters? You know, like, why have these conversations where you're like, because of this issue, Bud Light lost its position? Because then it only sends a message to the haters, hey, look what you can do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that either.
Yeah, fair.
But I think that's Bud Light's fight to fight, because they're the people who tried to support Dylan, or tried to take advantage of Dylan, quite frankly, to support their brand. They saw that that didn't work out, so they decided to please these people, losing these people. So they're losing double the amount of people at the end of the day. They're losing the people who didn't want them to support Dylan, and then now they're losing all the people who did support Dylan when they did the backtrack. So I think there's two audiences of people that are being lost here, but I definitely understand what you're saying is like, let's not give these transphobes, these homophobes that power.
No.
And maybe it's just language, and
Yeah.
maybe that's the headline. The headline shouldn't be the transphobes won.
Yeah.
It should be the people who are boycotting Bud Light because they left Dylan out to dry.
Give me the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Give me the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching. We've got lots more discussion and debates on everything from food and fashion to pop culture and current events. Don't forget to click like and subscribe.